Okay, well, welcome to class today. We are finally live. Today we will be talking about different things at work. We'll be looking at some situations and there's some questions and things like that. So there's actually two things to read, and right now I have two people in the class, so it's perfect for them. So I think we'll kind of just get right to that. I need to screen share. Here we go. Perfect. And this is from Unit 10 in the Entanga files. Okay, so it's technically a listening activity, but as we know, we don't have any audio. We are the audio, okay? So what I think maybe, Marco, because you're in class less often, why don't you go ahead and read this text for us, okay?
Okay, it would be a pleasure for me. Okay.
Is it big enough? Because I can make it bigger if you want. 1 second.
Okay.
That's better.
Thanks for worrying about my age.
It's everybody. It's not just you.
No, I'm joking. Okay, I get started. Listen to two different people talking about two different aspects of their life. Person one. I've been working in the same company now for 10 years. I moved from Canada to the UK to do the job I'm doing now. And I don't regret it. It's been 6 years since I've been back home. I do miss home, but I'm going back this year for a couple of months to see family and catch up with friends. I love England and have lived near London for 4 years now. I don't think I could live anywhere else now.
Okay, good.
It's difficult sometimes the punctuation, but to take the pace, no, the rhythm.
Exactly. When it's not natural for you, then everything becomes more difficult. I am terrible at reading in Spanish. I can tell you right now, it sounds like I'm like 2 years old and I don't know how to speak. But yes, it's the same in English. But very good. All right. And so, Ken, let's do a little challenge here. Can you sum up what this text is about?
Maybe two people are talking about two aspects of life. These people, this person one think maybe he moved from Canada to UK, so now he feels he could live anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, perfect. Are there any words in here that you don't read, you don't understand, you want to talk about? Either of you, Ken or Marco?
No, so far.
Oh.
Where? Okay. Becky disappeared. We've been alone.
Oh, I hope she's gonna come back. Yeah, maybe she said the connection is not stable today.
Yeah, probably. Some internet problem, probably.
Yeah.
So
right.
Let's try to take advantage by asking you, how are you, Aka? What have you been?
Yeah, I'm fine, but it's hard. Summer has started. Yeah.
Working or?
Yeah. Yeah, I just on the home. So I dropped by the kind of the 7-Eleven store, convenience store to join this class.
Yeah.
So I need Wi-Fi. So yeah, that's why I heard background noise.
Yeah.
Do you hear the noise? Background noise?
A bit, but I can hear you. Okay. Oh, fine.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Hi.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was having internet problems, and so I think that's our first sign. So let me go ahead and get this back. So I didn't hear anything. I don't know if you all heard what I wanted to say, but I asked what catch up meant. Would anyone like to to respond. What does catch up mean?
Catch up is a phrasal verb that mean to meet with friends, again after a bit of time, or starting again the friendship because you haven't seen some of them for a bit of time, for example. To restart.
Okay, good. And Ken, do you have any definition of catch up?
Maybe to communicate, to see family and catch up. I think to communicate, meet with friends.
Okay, good. So it's a little bit of, yeah?
Maybe actually meeting, not by a Skype or something, probably.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Okay, so catch up is basically, oh, Ken, I haven't seen you in 2 months. How are you? Tell me what's happened in the last 2 months. Okay, so we're catching up with each other.
Right. Okay.
And so that can be over the phone, or it can be in person. It can be with friends. It can be with family. Okay, but it's with somebody that you have history with. Okay, you can't just meet someone new and say, hey, let's catch up. Well, you don't know anything about what's going on in my life. So, of course, it has to be with someone that you know, okay?
Okay.
And so good. So I don't think there's any other super fantastic vocabulary here that we need to talk about. So let's go to the, oops, actually I'll make this smaller, otherwise, here we go. Okay. So how long has she been working in the company? For 10 years or for 12 years? Let's go back, make it bigger.
10 years.
Very good. See if I can move this down. That happens, honestly. That happens quite a bit. You understand the general idea, and then all of a sudden you have something specific, and it's like, wait a second, I don't remember.
Because I thought both of them could be right, for 10 years or for 12 years, it could be right the same.
Right, the grammar's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, fine.
Perfect. All right, well, good. So that one's solved for 10 years. Number 2 is, how long has it been since she's been back home? You have 6 months or 6 years. Do either of you remember first?
I can turn. I forgot. Maybe six years.
Right? 6 years or 6 months?
Yeah.
It's been 6 years since I've been back home. Very good. And when we're teachers, for example, Ken, you're a teacher, and you look at Susan, why don't you remember? We just read this. don't forget these moments. Okay. And number 3 is, how long has she lived in London? This is for years or 4 years? 4 years, 4 years. Which 4 is it? This one we're not going to remember, huh? So, here we go.
Both of them are right. 4 or 4 years. Because
exactly, both of them. That's a trick question. Good. Yep, so those are both fine. All right. And anything else? That question, I think, is a little bit blank. It doesn't really give us anything else. So, very good. Are there any other questions, maybe, about this? Okay, here. Any other questions about this? Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Do either of you have any situations, work-related? Ken, you went to the United States to study, but did you have to go abroad to work or anything like that for a period of time?
For studying abroad, not for working. So visa I got is student visa. So I think process or document is different from to get yeah, working visa. So I think working is much more complicated to or difficult to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. And so, if you could describe maybe your feelings from living, and how long did you live in the United States?
Only for 6 months,
Okay.
so not
And
6 years.
yeah. And so how was that going back? I mean, did it change you a lot?
Oh yeah, actually, because it was my first experience to live abroad. So even though it's not so long, I learned a lot to observe my country or also to live as a minority. You know, in America, I would be a minority, so I much more sensitive about feeling of minority people living in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it definitely does open your eyes. I know.
right.
You know, for example, my parents, when they go to the grocery store and they see people speaking in Spanish, they're like, they need to speak in English, blah blah blah, and it's like it's just more comfortable for them. You know, if I'm speaking to my husband, it's obviously more comfortable for us to speak Spanish than English. And then yesterday, I was speaking to my parents like I do every Sunday. My mom said, "Well, I went to go to a new hair salon to find a different person to cut my hair." And she gave her the information, and my mom thinks she understands Spanish. And she said, I was following the conversation. And,
Yeah,
you know, the woman she talked to was talking to the boss, and they were speaking in Spanish. And she said, because of that, I'm not going to return. And I thought, well, that's stupid.
right.
You know, just because they're speaking, it's more comfortable for them. Maybe it's both of their native languages. You know, there are people here. There's one person in particular who was born in the United States, but also lived in, you know, 50-50 his entire life. I always speak to him in English because it's easier. You know,
Right.
it's not because I'm trying to hide information or anything. So I think there's a misconception of, you know, that. So,
Yeah,
all
it's a
right, well, back to
complicated.
business a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if the
Mm-hmm.
complicated thing happened, it's yeah, native language. Speaking native language has much more advantage actually. Or yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, that's a problem. But yeah, anyway,
It is, but it's
uh,
also the attitudes. I mean, it's sad, even if it's just a comment or, you know, I can be at home and I'll talk to my husband and I'll say something, you know, do you want, you know, one or two something, you know, hamburgers, for example. And my dad's like, oh, what are you talking about? If he
yeah,
wants a hamburger or two, like nothing. You know, they always think we're speaking about them, and it's not true. And so that's kind of the negative part of speaking a different language as well.
right.
So good. And Marco, yes, Ken, sorry.
No, no,
No,
Marco, go ahead.
sorry, sorry, Becky. Just a curiosity. You know, I am a curious man, even I am not so young, but I have a question for you that come up in my mind. What is kind of like talking between your parents and your husband parents? Which kind of language do they talk?
Spanish.
Spanish?
Mm-hmm.
Because your parents speak in Spanish.
No, 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 sorry. My parents speak English, and
Yeah.
they speak English to my husband.
Ah.
And my husband understands enough English to communicate.
No, but
But
about your husband parents.
Right, they speak in Spanish.
Yeah. So you have to be your husband and yourself the intermediate, no? The
Yeah, the
intermediate between.
translator.
Yeah, yeah. Translate from English to Spanish because I imagine in your wedding, no, between
Mm-hmm.
the two parts, no, was funny in some way, no, probably.
Yeah, well, actually, we did everything in English, and the vows, you know, the part where we say, "Oh, I love you so much," blah blah blah. We did that in Spanish, and
Ah.
it was translated. It was read in English after we said it. So, It was strange because we always speak in Spanish here, and then my parents were upset that we were going to only speak in Spanish for the vows, and I said, but I don't speak to him in English, and so it will not feel natural, and I'll be uncomfortable. So that's why we had my friend read, what we said. I obviously translated mine, and then one of my husband's friends who lives in the United States translated his.
Yeah.
My brother edited it just to be sure if there were any, changes, and that was it. So a little bit of both worlds.
Yeah. Because no, at the same time, it's wonderful, no, living this kind of contrasting experience, between two languages so different. I think enrich, life in some way.
And quite difficult at times too.
Yeah. Probably in some occasion it could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thanks for answering.
No problem.
I was curious.
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind talking about my wedding. That's fine. Good. Well, and Marco, for you, have you ever had to go to a different country or go to a different place for an extended amount of time, 6 months or more?
No, certainly not for so long time.
No.
Okay. I love the UK. I love traveling.
Really? I didn't know.
But so far, I usually go to UK twice in a year. But every occasion, I stay there not for more 6 or 7 days. No more for that.
All right. Well, perfect. So very good. So what about, we'll go to this next one here, and Ken, here we go. It will be your turn to read, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So whenever you're ready, Ken, you can start reading.
Okay. Person 2. I've been living with the same guy for 8 years. We're together, but not on paper. We just decided one day to live in the same house. We thought it would be cheaper and also a lot of fun. The cheap thing was right, but you know, when you live with someone for so long, it can get quite boring. Don't get me wrong. We're still as strong as ever, and I imagine one day we'll get married. But I do have some to emphasize. I have to emphasize the importance of having a social life outside of your relationship. I've been going to book clubs and writing groups since 2009, and I've made some friends for life there. It's a shame my partner doesn't do the same. He's a bit shy, you see.
Okay, so very good. Okay, so this is definitely a different aspect of life. This is more about relationships. So, Marco, can you give me a summary of this text?
Yeah, I try to do my best, and in some way, I want to say that in some way, I totally agree with this person because he tried to explain, no, to the reader, no, that okay, he loves his partner, he loves so much, but he thinks it's likewise important to have our own life, no, and not relying only on your partner or on your family. I do think that's my opinion that in every couple it's important to have of course the most of the time having a common life, but also having our own hobby or way that we like the most because I do think, for example, even in a married couple, a man and a woman, no, are really different in some way, So, for example, just to give an example, if the wife loves going to the gym, it's good for me if she does this kind of activity. And also, at the other time, for example, if a man loves going to watch football, it's right that the husband going to watch football with their friends. I don't think this kind of activity can affect a real love. This is my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
And that's the meaning of this kind of speech, no? That probably, and also this writing hands with like the person number two says that it's a bit afraid that his partner doesn't live his same feelings, no, and he is a bit shy.
Mm-hmm. Which everyone has their own personalities and everything too. So, one person might be more loud. For example, I can chat and talk to people about anything, and my husband is more reserved and quiet and doesn't like to gossip when I do. So everyone has their differences.
Yeah, it's the same in my family. My wife is quite too reserved, like a person. I am. I love socializing a lot, for example. But don't get me wrong. I love my wife.
Well, that's the whole when you compliment someone, just because I'm good at something doesn't mean the other person has to be good at it too.
Yeah.
I'm not good at technology. I think we all know that. And so my husband is, and so he can help me. So he compliments me in that way. Or just with attitudes and, just sometimes a reminder of I need to either, change my thinking habits or vice versa, think about them in that situation, how they would react to something. So, it definitely is interesting when you're in a really strong relationship. So
yes, but just to finish my concept, not because I want to give you a piece of advice, but of course, but of course, our marriage is completely different. But not because I am Italian, you are American, or your husband is Spanish,
right.
but because in the term of the duration, no, I have been married to my wife almost for 30 years. In 2 years, we are going to celebrate our 30-year of marriage. So you are at the beginning of your life, no, like a husband and wife. So, like you said, in my opinion, it's really important to change together, no, because we are not the same like when we got married, no, at the beginning.
Exactly.
After 10 years, probably, if you are going to give a birth, no, if you are going to get
have a baby.
So life change, no. If you don't change together, probably I think the problems are going to start deeply. That's my idea.
I absolutely agree, and it's good. People change throughout life, and that's fine. But like you said, change together and don't grow apart. My mom has always told me that too. They've been married since '78, so they're 39 years they've been married.
Great.
So I know. So I'm looking forward. I can tell you, my dream right now is to be 80 years old.
I hope
for you. Beer with my husband. That's so.
I hope for you can follow your parents' example, no?
Exactly. Well, we just started 6 months. I mean, 6 months is June 22nd, so we have a long way to go. But
you are so young, like a married couple, so you have a long life. to improve.
Newlyweds is what we're called.
And probably you already know, no, that life together is never easy, no. It's like living time to time in a roller coaster, no, ups and down. But you have to be strong, no, together, and you have to face this kind of proofs, no, kind of trials, or things like that.
Exactly. What better advice from an Italian man than about love?
You know, one of my advice it could be in the future, if you want to plan another trip, I strongly recommend to visit Verona, and you know, from Shakespeare.
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet is a fantastic city. Capuletti and Montecchio is the city of lovers, of partners, of love.
Well, there's a Verona in Wisconsin as well. Look it up.
Oh,
my cousins, my aunt and uncle and my cousins lived there when they were growing up. It's near the capital in Wisconsin, so it's the same name, which is quite funny. So I've been there, but not in Italy. So. Well,
okay,
good. Well, what I want to
talking.
do.
I talked a lot.
That's okay, no problem, Marco. Let's see. There were some things in this one I wanted to talk about for vocabulary. Okay, it says so they're together, but they're not on paper. What does on paper mean in this case?
I think it's documents. So they are not officially, married. Got married. They didn't
exactly
get married. Yeah, on paper. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're not officially together, but they're together. So
right.
That's good. Okay. So big grown-up decisions. It says, "Don't get me wrong." What does that phrase mean?
Don't think it badly.
Okay, good. Yeah, don't take this the wrong way, or just kind of warning you that they're going to say something maybe a little negative or not, but I mean, they're just talking about, having a social life outside of your relationship individually is also healthy for you, and it is. And I agree with that. So I'm sure Marco does too. And this last one is, "It's a shame." What does "it's a shame" mean?
It's a bit a strong expression. It's pity. It's a pity, or maybe.
Well, it's actually, I would say it's on the same level as "it's a pity." Honestly, it's a shame. I think that's fine. So that's good. All right. Well, let's go down to the next slide here and take. Let's see who was paying attention this time. So what does the woman live with? Okay, so we'll say this is a heterosexual couple in this case. Who does the woman live with? Her boyfriend or her husband?
Of course, her boyfriend.
Okay, and why is it of course?
On paper. They are not on paper. So.
Exactly, thank you. And we didn't even look, that's perfect. Okay, so how long have they lived together? For 7 years or for 8 years?
It's a hard turn.
I forgot.
I love honesty. Good, Ken.
8 years. For 8 years.
8 years. Wow, such a long time.
Yeah.
So for 8 years, so good. And how long has she been going to reading and writing groups? Since 2009 or for 9 years? Let's see if you remember first.
If my memory serves me right, it could be since 2009, but I'm not completely sure.
All right, Ken, do you have a final answer, or should we take a look at the text?
Yeah, same, since 2009.
All right, well, let's double check this. Since 2009. Very good. I've been going to book clubs and writing groups since 2009. So fantastic. And sorry, get back. Okay. Okay, what's the problem? Let's see, maybe I'll make this a bit smaller. I can't see it that well. Her boyfriend doesn't like that she goes out, or her boyfriend doesn't have, and we've lost the end of this because it's not here on the next page. Or maybe he doesn't have a social life. What do you think? Do you remember anything?
The second you said.
Yeah, the social life. He doesn't have a social life. And is there a reason why?
Why? Yeah. He's too shy.
There you go. Yep. He's a bit shy. Okay. So very good. All right. So now okay. To show interest. No, we've done this already. This is already in the past. So perfect. So I actually would like to ask both of you some questions about work and relationships, because this was about the second one was more about relationships. So let me stop screen sharing for a second here, and you'll see me.
Or James, maybe.
Or James, that's fine too.
I joke.
This must be my internet thing today. So anyway, I don't know, but if I show up eventually, I'm here. So the question is, for example, you're in a relationship and your partner is offered a job, okay, a different job somewhere. I don't know. I'm trying to think here. Maybe with obviously more money, because who would consider a job making less money? So your partner is making more money, but you have to move, let's say 3 hours from where you are now. Okay. So I would say, what would you do in this situation? Okay. Your partner makes more money, but you have to move 3 hours away. I mean, it's still considering your job, okay? So you have to take that into consideration as well. So Marco, you probably have more experience with, or I don't know, Ken, I don't know anything about your your social life. So Marco, what do you think?
My first consideration, it could be relating to this your question. Another one, because you know, in our society, probably even more in Eastern than in Western society. But when, for example, it could be a problem in a couple if the woman would earn much more than her husband. That's could be a problem for some men, no? Because especially in the past, of course, we are now in modern times, but I do still believe that even now some men could disagree, no? If they might not be happy with his woman, his wife, for example, would earn much more than them, the men. So this could be a problem. So, for example, if your question were addressed to a man and his partner makes more money and he should move in 3 hours away from the home, I think in the long term could be a problem for the relationship. I hope not for every couple, but for some of them could be a problem. And fortunately, in my situation, I haven't had any experience about that, because not because I earn a bit more of my wife, but because our job have always been close to our home. So I never experienced this kind of situation. But as I said, it could be a problem if the male would earn less than a woman.
Interesting. And I didn't think about that. I think if my partner can make more money than me, then fantastic. So
Yeah.
I make more money than him, so he's actually unemployed right now. But
Yes, but in fact, the problem is only from the men and not from the women, probably.
Well, and that's something I didn't think about. So I'm interested in asking Ken what you first think about that. Is that something that you think about, or would you just think about the situation? And this is all cultural as well. We're all from very different
right.
cultures.
Actually, a lot of couples nowadays, because their job, they live separately. For example, usually mostly husbands, if the company order the move to the different cities branch, only the husband go there, live in an apartment or something, or a dormitory or something of a company, and they came back to the family's house only on the weekend. So that's the one option. It's case by case, but 3 hours I think it's hard to commute. So separate living, or moving to the city in between the two companies. That's one another.
1.5 commute each is kind of a long way.
Also, Marco pointed out, salary. Yeah. Which salary is higher, or such kind of affect this problem as well.
Is that a big issue in Japan as well, if the woman makes more money?
Actually, still a woman salary is lower than men on average, but some women are a lot. So it's case by case still in general, but kind of, how can I say, the research shows still women paid lower than men in general.
Yeah. I think it's in every country. I don't remember if it was Iceland that said that they're going to make everything. I mean, if it's a man or a woman, they get the same amount. But I think it's everywhere, honestly. I mean, in the United States, it's like that as well. Here in Spain, I don't really know, but I'm sure it is. I liked your comment about. I can understand your comment about the husband moving away or the wife moving away for the job. But it's also different, because if it's the wife in this case and then she has to move, would that happen in Japan, or you said only the husband?
Usually husband, because especially the couple who has the children, so the mother and the kids stay. Also for kids educational reason too. It's difficult after the middle school. It's difficult to move to school. So sometimes they remain in the same city, and only the husband go to the different city.
Interesting. I know here in Spain that happens a lot, especially with the huge recession, the crisis that they've had in the last 10 years. That it's a lot of people live separately. I know multiple people who, one lives on the coast, one lives here, or they both went to England to go to work. And there's a lot of situations. I've talked to someone who, for 10 years, they've been living apart. They see each other only on the weekends. And she said, it's strange, because after 3 or 4 days with him, if there's a long weekend or celebration, she's like, I'm tired of him. I want him to go away again. And I'm like, well, I can understand that, because if it's been 10 years that you haven't been living together, then you get used to doing your own things, just as if you were single again. So I personally wouldn't want to do it. So I don't know. I think it's a complicated situation, and I appreciate my husband that he always asks me. There's a hotel that calls him every once in a while to work, and he's like, "Oh, let me just talk to my wife quick, and then I'll call you back." And I'm like, "Well, that's nice." You know, he always wants input from me and what I think and my opinion. So I think that's really nice. But I don't think, and I think it's different for every couple. Maybe it's okay for one couple, but maybe not another. For example, I mean, Marco, you might be able to get a job at a hospital in that town, for example, or nearby. So there are other options too.
Yes, you're right. Every couple has their own life. Even we are similar because we all are human beings, but we live
Yeah.
different lives, you know. And you know, in every house, every one of us think in the way they acting, no? Of course. But you know, if houses could be made of glasses, no? Of course, we we would see, you know, the things a bit different from probably what the people say in a life, a social life, or when they meet outside. You know, of course, when you are inside your home with your husband or with your children, if you have some of them, you have a different life, but not because you are different from outside or inside. But of course, the relationship are so different. No, in front of your boss, in front of your colleagues, it's difficult to be so frankly, so no, so your real Becky or your real Mike, you know, you have to. Don't get me wrong, but in some way you have to wear a mask, no, and to put some distance, you know, to people, but not because you don't want to be friend, but because I think in your home you get undressed, no, of your clothes.
Emotions.
Yeah, no, in some way.
Physically and emotionally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
physically and mentally, you know, you are finally relaxed, you know. It should be so.
Your true self.
Yeah, it should be so, no. If you live a proper life yeah, a life with your husband, with your wife in a good way. I don't think it's different inside and outside of your normal life.
Well, I think it depends. I mean, if it's, for example, you know, obviously, Marco, you and your wife are older than me and my husband,
Yeah.
but I honestly wouldn't have a problem maybe moving. I think it would be good for us to move to a different town, separate us from so much family, so we can actually be our own couple, not a couple within all of the family that's around here. So it depends on your age. I mean, you have kids as well, and that would change
Probably,
their lives.
sorry if I interrupt you, but probably it could be different even for you if you had a baby, no? A woman, a mother. In my mind, of course, I'm thinking like a man. Of course, I think different from a woman. No, that's a truth. It's nothing to say. No, it's usually to say, but I think a mother would like to grow up. You know, her boy or her daughter. So it could be difficult to move in 3 hours away from her home. I don't know, but I don't say that is not right or is it wrong. And it depends on
Well, it depends
every
too.
person.
I mean, because for example, this isn't my family; it's my husband's family here, so it's not the same. And my feeling is that if I have kids, my kids will never know my parents as well as they know my husband's family, for example. And so there's a lot of things there. Being here in Spain, you know, and not being from England, for example. If I were from England, life would be so much easier because of the distance. And so
Yeah.
there's things that you have to think about too. And so if we do move, I mean, there actually are some people that could help us raise the child or whatever, but to me, it's not necessary. I think here in Spain and Italy, definitely, it's all about family. In the United States, I started working as a babysitter at the age of 12. And that's normal. It's not, oh, I'm going out tonight. Here, mom, take our kid.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So for me, I look at it probably like colder, I suppose you could say, that I'm not like, oh, well, it's my family. My family will take the child. No, leave your family alone. We'll pay someone to take care of the child. So I look at it, more in the American way too. So for me, 3 hours really isn't much. I mean, we can come visit on a regular basis. So, but like you said, babies change everything.
Yes, but definitely, I think the last consideration to say, in my opinion, is that in every couple, between a man or a woman or two people of the same sex, even in an official couple,
Yep. Or not on paper.
Yes, of course. My opinion is that they get on well since the first moment. They don't change in their opinion about the other person. And what do I mean? I mean that if with my wife I agree with her that for me it's no problem that they can go work in 3 hours away. I shouldn't change my idea because I don't know. She had a baby, and at the same time she wants to keep on working 3 hours away. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying, but for example, some men or some women, when they are fiancé, when they are in relationship before getting married, they say, oh no, for me it's no problem. You are completely free. You can go wherever you are. And then after the marriage, they change their opinion, and you have to stay at home. You can't get out. You can't meet your friends. That's a big problem, no? So.
Well, I think what it comes down to is it depends on probably your age to begin with, if you're established in your job or not, and if you want to. I mean, it just depends. I mean, people can decide to move, to do this and change and whatever. So good. Well, Ken, do you have any final words for us?
Yes, I'm curious about system in marriage in Europe, because in France now maybe more than 50% couple chose a civil partnership, but Spain and Italy doesn't have such system there.
We have a domestic partnership. I actually have a domestic partnership with my husband to legalize my papers here, and that was done years ago. It's just like, for example, if two men want to get married in the state's eyes, so they have, rights if someone dies or something happens, they have rights to that person's belongings, if there's children involved, etc. So there's that, but a lot of European couples just don't get married. They just start having babies and that's it. So
I see. Yeah, I think it's we also have such option too, because because I'm married couple, and such kind of thing, trouble to prevent such kind of thing, and maybe not heavy like a marriage, but more a bit lighter, but some obligation kind of thing. I think it's good system.
Exactly. So if we ever separate as a couple, we have to basically sign papers, which isn't officially a divorce, but yes, it's not as strong as a marriage or a divorce, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any final comments, Marco, from your end?
No, just I said the most important things in every couple is the freedom. The freedom, but not only in a couple, of course, for every person, in every nook and cranny of this little world, I think. Freedom is the best thing that you can give to your partner. And you have to trust. That's important. You have to trust in your partner. That's a real couple has to work to this kind of things, and if they have this skill, I think they can go to go on together for long, long, long time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I completely agree. And with that, I want to talk about our next class. A little more, I shouldn't say controversial, but controversial for me, as I'm quite reserved in some aspects. Big businesses. I want to have a conversation about big businesses and if they have the right to, let's say, build on a beautiful coastline just because they can make lots of money. But if they're ruining the coastline and the views for other people, you know, where does that come in? Let's see. Also, if big brand names come into a city and then all of like the mom and pop, the local stores start closing, you know, when do you kind of, between business and your morals, I would think. So there, you know, we'll talk about different conversation, different situations like that, okay?
Okay, very interesting.
Perfect.
Even it's
Well,
not
that's
my
on
cup.
Wednesday.
Even it's not my cup of tea because I never worked in a big business. I am so small, like a hand.
Well, and that's okay, but you do have opinions, and that's okay
Yes,
because
yes,
you can
definitely.
be, you know, for protecting the land, for protecting animals, but you can
Yes,
also,
yes.
well, I want to make a lot of money, so my best interest is.
No,
So
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
lots of different ideas. So that's Wednesday at 3 o'clock Spain time. Okay, so in 30 minutes from now, from the time it is now, it's easy for you guys, so
Okay.
no problem. So we'll have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, and have a nice day. You and Ken.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Ken.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.